Tonight we're going to be reading a book called Demons of the Flesh by Nikolas and Zeena Shreck. This book explores the left-hand path of sex magic. Now, the left-hand path refers to any type of counterculture religion. For example, in the United States, Christianity is the primary religion. A counter-religion would be the opposite. So, in modern times, that would be Satanism. This is significant because Zeena Shreck was formerly Zeena LaVey, Anton LaVey's daughter, who founded the Church of Satan. The reason this work really kind of speaks out is Anton's work in the Satanic Bible was really shock jock promotion, where Zeena has more of a philosophical view, and you can actually look at the mental process of the left-hand path as she explains it. She doesn't start with Christianity as a left-hand path religion. She starts in the East. And so watching her explore a left-hand path of a different religion helps us to see some of the universal ties that the left-hand path takes. So without any further delay, I'm grabbing my reading glasses, and we're going to get into Demons of the Flesh. Alright guys, I've got my spectacles on. We are ready to read. So we're going to start in the beginning. Foreplay. The book before you is a guide in the sense that it will escort you on a journey. The route we will be taking passes through vistas of strange beauty and across perilous chasms. It is known as the left-hand path. Few have traveled this road, and still fewer have reached its final distant destination. Unfortunately, most available maps of this mysterious terrain have been drafted by those who have never even stepped upon the path. Yet they'll warn you of terrible dangers confronted along the way, suggesting that its arduous passage only leads to the darkest of dead ends. Such faulty cartographers will caution you that the only souls to be encountered on this ill-lit thoroughfare are fools, lunatics, scoundrels, and thieves. Indeed, there may be some truth to that last admonition, but the born adventurer will not be dissuaded so easily. There are other maps, offered by slightly less timid souls, that bear a closer semblance to reality. However, these guides breezily point out only the most comforting tourist attractions on the sightseeing itinerary. All dark alleys, disreputable neighborhoods, and red light districts are kept safely out of view, deemed unfit for public consumption. Such squeamishness permits the explorer only a carefully expurgated outlook. Furthermore, the specifications found on this sort of map are frequently so convoluted that the traveler doesn't know which end is up. Finally, there is a map drafted by those who declare themselves not only as tour guides, but proudly lay claim to this left-turning way in its entirety, hailing it as the best place to be. However, should the unwary wayfarer consult such maps for even the simplest directions, it immediately becomes apparent that there's been some confusion. This mix-up, it seems, is due to a simple but enduring misappropriation of nomenclature. The area on these maps marked so conspicuously as the left-hand path turns out, on closer inspection, to be a different path altogether. Demons of the Flesh is designed in part as a corrective to the false leads and detours described above. Charts this hitherto misinterpreted path from a very different perspective. On our map, we clearly show you the complete road plan in all of its three-dimensional topography and complexity, starting from its most ancient eastern point of origination. We have also broken beneath the visible surface of this causeway to reveal the hidden archaeological layers of the sinister current as it has coursed through time. Accompanying you through this voyage, we provide a practical suggestions for navigating the leftward road in a contemporary Western world that provides no reliable compass. But enough metaphors about maps and paths. Let's face it, you picked this book up to read about sex. And there's certainly plenty of sex to be found in these pages, chronicling an infinite diversity of erotic experience. From the alchemy of menstrual blood and semen to the ritual worship of the vagina. Sex with promiscuous monks and sacred whores from Tibet to Babylon. Necrophiliac sex in cremation grounds. Coprophiliac sex, coprophiliac sex in Sicily. Incestuous sex in India. Vampiric sex in China. The orgasm is sacrificed. The orgasm prolonged. Sex with goddesses. Psychic transsexualism. Sex with disembodied beings. Sexual slavery. Sexual mastery. Sexual trance. Ancient Egyptian anal sex between Set and his nephew Horus. Oral sex. Autoerotic sex. Group sex. Telepathic sex. All kinds of sex sects. Tantric sex. Gnostic sex. Satanic sex. Sex with young virgins. Sex with the elderly. Sex with the wives of other men. Even sex with Jesus. However, the multi-bodied panorama of polymorphous delight that seeps from this book is not presented merely to stimulate the jaded or titillate ennui voluptuaries with novel deviations they have yet to try out. It's important to establish that there is a significant difference between the profound pleasure of sexually enjoyed for its own sake as the physiological and aesthetic experience, and sexuality utilized for authentic, magical, or initiatory purposes. The nucleus of the left-hand path, taken out of their proper context, the outwardly salacious tidbits pressed between these pages can and probably will be misinterpreted if this distinction is not taken into account. At the same time, it must be pointed out that the whole topic of sexual magic has been hedged about with a tremendous amount of hypocrisy, emanating both from practicing sex magicians and those merely observing their activities. For instance, many curiosity seekers has casually poked around the most superficial level of erotic magic, hoping to learn a few sex tips to spice up a lackluster love life. For the most part, this misguided playing at sex magic is merely a waste of time, generating little in the way of physical excitement and absolutely nothing in the way of magic. But some self-righteous sex magicians have taken the schoolmarmish position that even fairly common phenomenon is immoral or spiritually harmful, or even that sex magic must be performed without a scintilla of lust or emotion to be legitimate. Conversely, the non-magician may snicker at the whole idea of erotic magic, dismissing it as some sort of dirty joke, refusing to accept that sex magicians are doing anything more profound than satiating their ordinary carnal appetites under the guise of esoteric doctrine. Behind these sanctimonious attitudes lays horrific banality to which Eros has been reduced in the modern world. In this spirit, some of our readers might imagine that a guide to the left-hand path sex magic will provide the furtive, cheap thrills of thinly veiled pornography. Literally speaking, that much maligned word pornography, from the Greek porno, which means whore, and graphia, which means writing, simply means to write about whores. So for those of you fervently hoping that this book would be pornographic, there is indeed enough writing about whores in these pages to technically qualify. Of course, the whores we will be concerned with are the conveyors of that long-lost art of ars amatoria, of sacred prostitution. If prostitution once served a noble and even sacred function, then why not sacred pornography? Such a form would be something far more subversive and powerful than the formulaic repetition of conventions we usually associate with the genre. The British author Angela Carter, whose cruel tales were usually tinged with an unsettling and surreal sexuality, once suggested the possibilities. The moral pornographer would be an artist who uses pornographic material as part of the acceptance of the logic of a world of absolute sexual license. For all the genders and all the projects, a model of the way such a world might work. His business would be the total demystification of the flesh, and the subsequent revelation that through the infinite modulations of the sexual act, the pornographer has it in his power to become a terrorist of the imagination, a sexual gorilla, whose purpose is to overturn our most basic notions of these relations, to reinstate sexuality as a primary mode of being, rather than a specialized area of vacation from being, to show that the everyday meetings in the marriage bed are parodies of their own pretensions. In many ways, Carter's description of the taboo overturning sexual gorilla, who totally demystifies the flesh, makes for an excellent introduction to the work of the left-hand path sex magician that this book illustrates. For the magi of the left-hand path, sexuality is even more than a primary mode of being. The altered state of extreme erotic ecstasy is a potentially divine mode of being. The chaotic dance of two magnetically attracted opposite energies that allows for the creation of a third power transcending the human. The couple that unleashes this hidden, physically re-manifesting power of the left-hand path within their orgasm-yoked organisms to its full intensity will find it difficult to return to the pre-programmed existence they once led. The man and woman who even once taste the freedom of the left-hand path as expressed through its self-deifying sexual rights have exited the human game as it is normally played. If the left-hand path is dangerous, a point both its detractors and advocates have agreed upon, one of its primary hazards is the peril of freedom in a world almost instinctively committed to crushing liberty in whatever form it might appear. All autocracies have held sway by severely curbing the full development of sexual power in their subjects. The left-hand path, a method of consciously activating levels of erotic energy almost unknown in conventional sexual relations, must be viewed as a threat to any hierarchy that seeks to bridle the development of man into God. The sexual gnosis of the left-hand path has the potential to forge heroic, self-determined individuals from the bleeding human herd. Guys, we are halfway through foreplay. What we're going to do is leave you hanging, leave you waiting, and leave you excited. And we'll continue with our next reading next week, where we finish foreplay. Again, this is Bartimus. Read something, learn something, and I'll see you next week.